All right, so good morning. And what we wanted to talk about quickly
Mm-hmm.
was the intent of the station and where we want to go with the direction of hopefully an advertiser, sponsor,
Sure.
a relationship with a
Sure.
business owner, and kind of showcase what we can do for that business
Absolutely.
owner. And I wanted it to come from you, Bob,
Thank you.
because you are obviously the mind behind the man behind the curtain that nobody wants to
I'm the
go
odds.
to. Yeah, there you go. So really the long term of what kind of relationships we want to build
Right,
with local
right.
business owners and what we hope to accomplish. And we've kind of done a PowerPoint presentation we'll go through pretty quick,
Yes.
but we just want 5 minutes to go through that. So it's coming from the top on what the long term is. So really quick, Bob, what are you hoping to accomplish for small business owners in our community?
So the first thing I think, and the most important thing that we're trying to do, is offer a venue for small businesses, a place where they can go to advertise. And we understand the pain of advertising and how it can be hard on a small business. So we have put together a package, I think, that can really assist them with getting the exposure that they're needing.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, you've been going through this for a couple of months now,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
how can we keep as we grow, as the greater Lake Houston area grows, with the Caney
Mm-hmm.
blowing up? How do we keep that small business feel?
Absolutely.
And I think the radio station can be one of those keys to do that.
Yep.
And to protect the small business owner. And I'm not saying the big box store is an enemy, but I am saying
they all have their place, right? Everyone has their place, but we serve a roughly 396,000 population in the greater Lake Houston and surrounding communities. That's a huge number. There is a few other stations out there, and one of them is KSBJ. It's an FM station and AM, I believe. Great station, but it is not focused on local. There is no other outlet really, and we're trying to get that to where people understand that and will listen the way we expect that they should to learn more about their community and their local businesses. Very important.
Yeah, and I think that the web service has been ongoing for years now,
Sure,
six years or so. And I think the new, the multimedia approach is really geared more towards the way people are consuming content.
Absolutely.
When me and you started meeting a couple of months ago, it was like, okay, the web streaming service is great if you want to push play, walk away, go about your business throughout the day. If you have it playing in your dentist office, those kind of things, that's great. But a lot of people don't consume content that way. So we want to give the sponsors an opportunity to get their information presented in a way that people like to consume the information. So I think this is all working out great. And Bob let me kind of test this over the last 35 days or so. And we've got some information I think is very valuable and kind of outpunts the coverage with cost. I mean,
absolutely.
When you look at the cost of other advertising versus what we're doing, we'll share that in a second. But I think this is a no-brainer for a lot of people that are using advertising.
I couldn't agree more. And everyone knows that social media is the new advertising platform. That's where everyone's going. But think about it for a second. Where's social media? It's on the web. Where are we? On the web. Where's our website? On the web. Where's your website? On the web. Everything is web driven now. And that's where they are going for information. That's where they're going for content. And that's where they're going for their advertising. So what we're doing is we're approaching from we're calling it multimedia approach, which means that you can do it on our streaming station, you can do it on YouTube, you can do it on your social media sites, and we help you do that. And I think that's what's so important. So
yeah, and the cool thing is it links together. For example, we'll go through it to Meet the Merchant segment, and we do that for free for small business owners, but we give them that media so they can take it, they can share it on their website.
Absolutely.
They can share it in their advertising, they can give it to their customers. And then through our approach behind the scenes of targeting specific audiences in YouTube and all the things we're doing behind the scenes, it's getting some great impressions for each of these business owners. And that's just to start for free what we're doing for them. And we're looking for sponsors for that type of activity that could highlight, continue to highlight the small local business owner as well as generate revenue.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, obviously it costs money to keep the station going and to have quality content. So, but with that, our packages are so competitive. They really are.
So the big picture is take local influencers, and the owner of that is Mark, and he's a big local influencer.
Absolutely.
Take people that are hosting our shows that are local influencers and kind of spread that knowledge and that information. So it does exactly what we intended to do, which it's already proven it has. So let's talk about a little bit the multimedia approach. And we already talked a little about the podcast format, and we'll go through the specific shows here in a minute. But really, we conduct anywhere from a 25 minute to 45-minute Meet the Merchant segment focused on a small business owner, all the way up to an hour plus shows by again those influencers in the community that could help grow. And we'll go through those. You talked a lot about the radio.com. Or RadioKair.com, the web stream service, which is going to be automatically part of these packages. So you get the podcast where it's going to highlight your branding. You get the RadioKair.com, which is going to be the web streaming service that's going to play your audio. Either we produce the advertisement for you, or you give us something out of the box that you've already created. And then also we're committing to the email side of it, right? Because I think that you got to touch people multiple times before they remember you. And we've got, around 3,000 emails, subscribers in our bucket that we can cast that to. And we're wanting to do that bi-monthly. So again, it doesn't get redundant. We want to change it up to look fresh. And that way people don't just auto delete those. And if we continue to highlight pictures of people in our community, people will actually open it and read it.
Yep.
All right.
So talking about Radio KAIR, obviously that was it's what I started with, and we're over now 6.5 years old. We've been in the community for a long time. I've been in the community since 1978. We believe in this community. We believe in the people that live here, but we also believe that they need good content, and we know for a fact that right now most people get their television or radio, they get it from the city, right? Nothing wrong with Houston, great city, but they don't cover us. They don't. And that's what we're striving to do on that platform. But then you take it to all the other platforms that we can offer the advertiser. I think it's truly a game changer. I really do.
Yeah, no. And so, like I said, Bob's let me kind of test some information, and we've actually got some analytics, and we'll share those in a minute. But it's pretty incredible to see what's happening in 35 days. To me, it's like, wow, 35 days, this many impressions, 35 days, this many views. And it's really cool. And it's not unnatural. It's an organic growth. It's not anything we're selling to people. It's just, hey, come on our show, interview us, local community business owners, local community people. They talk, and then all of a sudden they subscribe. And guess what? Their friend does, their mom does, their sister does. And now all of a sudden this the subscriber list is growing extremely rapidly naturally, and then also it's getting more and more views, in which we want to highlight sponsors for those views, give them some branding on the screen, have the host talk about them, all those things. But when you talk about that, people are more willing to watch their brother, their sister, their friend, their neighbor than they are somebody else.
Somebody they don't know, or some professional actor or whatever. The other thing I think that we need to probably touch base on, and I'm sure it's in your notes, but is our listener area, right? The people that are listening, 90-something% of them are from the New Caney, Porter, Kingwood, Humble area. Let me tell you, folks, you can't get much more local than that. We don't, and what's crazy about it is that we're worldwide. I mean, you can hear us anywhere, everywhere. We've had people in the past from New Zealand all the way to Saudi Emirates that followed us, and always great to know that. But that's not going to help the local advertiser. Mm-hmm. But what we're doing now is it is local. It is. You're not going to spend a whole bunch of money on advertising for somebody that's on the other side of town. That's not going to work for you. I mean, you need something local.
Yeah, I mean, if you're advertising on the web, sometimes it gets confused, and you may be a local dentist in Humble, right? And then all of a sudden you're getting shown in features in Austin.
Right.
What good is that going to do you? It's wasted cents. Every 8 cents or whatever they're going to publish, mm-hmm. Google's going to do their thing. You're going to pay it regardless, but this is a far more narrow focused audience. All right. So I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of traditional advertising, what people are paying for. For example, traditional radio. I mean, the notes that I think immediately when I think of traditional radio is, how do they know how many listeners they have?
Right. Well, it's that's painful. It's painful to talk about because the way things work. So there are rating companies out there, and if you pay them enough money, you're going to be the number one. It's just the way it is. I remember before COVID, we were approached by a local company, and they said, hey, for X number of thousands of dollars, you can be the number one streaming station in this area. Well, that's great to say that. And it makes, look, it does. It makes it good for sales, right? Because now you can go to somebody and say, hey, we've been voted number one streaming station in this whole area. But is that true? Right. And that's the thing. So, but we have the analytics.
Yep. And that we'll get into that in a minute. Yeah. But the cool thing, and then the other thing, okay, so these radio stations, they're typically not locally owned, right?
Correct. Yes.
You got Clear Channel, you got the big boys Cox, that own hundreds of radio stations throughout the U.S. So is your money going back in the community? Yes, parts of it are
a little bit,
but really you got stockholders they report to. And then, FM radio, it's one of those things that's sad because I remember that's how I got a lot of my information when I was growing up. But the truth is, that's not even how I go listen to music.
Correct.
That's not how I get information anymore. And it's unfortunately something that's going to die off. There'll always be a radio presence, but it's just not what it was. But they're still charging you a premium amount to be advertised on those sites.
That's correct.
Or on those stations. And then we got print advertising, and we all get the magazines, especially in the Humble, Kingwood, Atascocita area.
Sure.
But I always ask myself about print advertising: who's actually reading it?
Correct.
How much time are they spending on your ad?
Right.
All those things concern me. Is it just a flip of a page? And then where are you buried in your ads? A lot of times you've got the last 5 or 6 pages of the magazine, no content, just ad after ad after ad. So people,
and to be fair, I've had people say, yes, I go through every one of those pages.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it is. And I'm sure there are people that do. I do know that some years back, another company I had, I was putting out flyers one day, trying to drum up business. And I noticed that as I went from house to house, a kind of a normal thing happening. First of all, some of the houses I'd go to, there was this yellow newspaper out in the yard. And if the yard guy was mowing the yard, he'd pick it up, and as he went by the trash can, he'd throw it in the trash. Never was looked at. The other one was, I was doing door hangers. I was smart. Right? That's just a lot of work for nothing. But what I noticed was a lot of homes, they never open their front door. I mean, in front of their door, there's all kinds of other door hangers. There's business cards. There's newspapers. There's all kinds. And these people will come maybe once a month, and they'll clean off their doorstep and throw all that stuff away. And nothing, look, I don't want to be the guy that says this stuff doesn't work. It does work for the right business. But is that the right business for you?
And it's
right?
it's the ROI too, right? So how much are you going to spend to generate that dollar in revenue?
Correct.
And that's one thing you've got to really understand when you're looking at marketing. And I own my own small business too. So that's one of the things I watched very closely is where is my lead source? And I had a great way to make sure I understood that. But if I found something at a high ROI, like I think this could do, it definitely makes it different. Yeah. And then traditional TV, right? So again, where is TV going? The one thing that the local, me and you were talking about this yesterday, the local TV stations has is they've got a weather desk.
Correct.
They've got some broadcasters that are local. And is that about all that's tied to local?
That's about it. The rest of it is syndicated programming.
Yeah,
right?
And it's all streamed. That could be streamed through, Paramount Plus or
Hulu
the Max or
Freevee
or all the different
It,
platforms.
yeah.
So those are, yes, those chances are there for advertising, and some people do value that. But really, the TV audience is going away unless you're going to advertise on the NFL.
Right. Yeah. So you're so right. So advertising or programming has become so segmented that it is difficult to find your market, right? What's going to work for you? And I remember back many years ago when UHF and VHF started competing on TV. So you had, I think I'm going to get this all wrong. I'm not a TV guy, but one of them had channel 13, 11, and 2, right? And then here comes this other channel, 26 and 39. And people are like, well, what is this, But people did start watching, and they're still there. They're still doing a good job. But so are the others, right? That whole environment, though, is changing, right? What used to work for TV, the Andy Griffin Show, and I was Dr. Phil. Sort of call him Uncle Phil, Dr. Phil. Those tend to be going away, and what's being filled is they're looking for more and different content, and some of it is just reality shows that are not reality. And it's just bad programming. Yep. So that's not who we are. That's not who we want to be. And I think we can offer much better local content programming, whether it be through a YouTube podcast, whether it be by broadcasting on Radio KAIR or through social media. We can really put that out there. And folks, I think, and John, what people need to realize is that when you're watching TV, which I don't even know why we call it TV anymore, but when you're watching television, that consumes everything. Your visual, your hearing, everything, and you have to focus on it because it's designed as visual. Radio is not like that. Radio, you can be out changing oil in your car. You can be, cleaning your house. You can be at work, which we have a lot of listeners that listen straight from their computer, right, at work. And I had this one guy I sat on a board with. He told me, he said, our whole office, that's all we listen to. Everyone has their computer on Radio KAIR, and we love that. But that means that you can multitask, right? Now you can work and listen at the same time. And that means a lot. I think that helps build that muscle memory. So if you're talking about an advertiser that wants to get the word out, right? It's not going to be one time, right? That one time never works, like in a magazine or something like that. That's not going to work for most businesses. What will work is repetitive advertising, repetitive over and over and over again, to help build that muscle memory. And we can help offer that.
Yeah, and we kind of want to tie advertisers and sponsors to shows as opposed to,
right.
And that helps build that muscle memory. The last before we get into the analytics, the last advertising I wanted to talk about that was painful for me was the Google advertising. Right. So we talk about impressions, and a lot of businesses, that's what they're going for. That, you want to build that muscle memory. You want to see that brand, see that image, see that name over and over and over, and it generates that subconscious of, hey, what happens when kind of scenario. So in my business that I owned, it was about 8 cents per impression.
That's about what I paid.
In this world, and we've already done this in 30 days, but we've generated 41,000 impressions. That's same price would be around $3,250 just for that one little part of what we're doing.
Correct.
That has nothing to do with all the other muscle memory shows, the duration people are listening, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the shows we're talking about is Meet the Merchant, and I've got it on the screen so you can see it. Medical Mondays, Lake Houston area home shows, Senior Choices, Party Time with Dom, and then the Mastery Lab that we've already developed. We're already working through. We're already getting the details of. Some of them we've already started. That's correct. And the rest of them are going to come. And we've got some other shows that will be coming very soon that we're going to reach out to some folks about. But I wanted to get into the analytics really quick. And so just the YouTube views, and this is a 30-day run. We've broke it out and said, okay, what are we good at? Right. And we're going to continue to use these analytics because these are tried and true. This isn't the imaginary TV analytics or radio that says you could be. And then it's also not the imaginary Google analytics, because we all understand the difference between an impression and an actual interaction. Right. We're always wanting that interaction. They typically cost more on Google, but the impression, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of a hope and prayer. But we've already done some information to figure out the views over the last 30 days, and really Meet the Merchants driving a lot of our growth, which we had an idea, but now we've got some proof behind it. And we've also learned that the Party Time with Dom slot is doing very well, and she's growing through subscribers and those kind of things. So really, we've got to get those sponsors filled pretty fast and make sure that business that aligns with that programming is focused on, if it's to Meet the Merchant, can get a benefit from being a small business, interactions and those kind of things, and hearing that over and over. The Party Time with Dom, catering, events, restaurants, all of those things, right? And then we've got some others that are coming up and coming, and we'll see it. And then the impressions, you can see the same thing, Party Time with Dom and Meet the Merchant. But when we talk about impressions, it's 41,000 impressions in 30 days.
Incredible.
Yep. And then subscribers, that's something else. Subscribers to me feels like loyalty, right? Okay. If somebody subscribes to something on YouTube, we can see the analytics to say, what show are they subscribing from? Right. And one thing that was shocking to us is I figured it'd be Meet the Merchant because there's so many more views. It's not. It's it's Party Time with Dom. Yeah. To me, that sounds like a very loyal group. That's correct. Which a lot of event centers, a lot of restaurants, caterers, those people want to be aligned to loyalty.
That's correct.
It's awesome to have that. And then the one thing that I think is completely shocking, the views 1,449 in 30 days, starting from 0 to that is, we got phenomenal. Some pride there, right? But we're not those 10K people. We will be, but it's good to jump on board early. But the amount of time people are actually watching these shows,
right?
Typically they're anywhere from 25 to 60 minutes long. But if you have advertising on it, they're going to pay attention to it for 4 minutes and 6 seconds.
That's a lot of advertising.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting there thinking about, when was the last time anybody opened a magazine and looked at an advertisement for 4 minutes?
Stared at that one page.
Or hit pause on a TV and said, "Can you believe they're offering that car for that cheap?" And hit
for
pause
4 minutes.
And it just doesn't happen. So
Right.
this is such a neat way to really drill in your
Right.
brand, your brand name. And then, we're local, so we can help with getting it explained
Right.
your way, right? If you didn't like, hey, we tried it this way, it didn't work, it's an easy phone call to adjust. It's not going back through publications and going back through producers and paying another $1,200. It's just
Right.
a phone call and say, you know what, that might work better. And then we can measure it. We can monitor it. We can put analytics to it to prove the proof's in the pudding, right? And then, so yeah, just quick show sponsor opportunities. What we're looking for is someone, a presenting sponsor for each show. Each of the shows we discuss, and they're all listed across the bottom. And this is kind of the feature. This is the person that's going to be each week. If it's, say, let's say it's Party Time with Dom for the whole week show, which she does one per week. It's 1 hour that she literally goes through, and you would be the presenting sponsor for that, where she's going to mention you every segment. You're going to have branding on the screen, on the YouTube screen, as well as advertising on the air. When Bob pushes to the web streaming service, it'll be repeated every segment. You'll all have a big, 90 second at the beginning of the segment, typically, and a 90 second at the end, to where we can feature talk at length about that business. So it's not a quick 2-minute conversation, or a quick 30-second conversation, conversation of, hey, remember this brand name. I think it's enough to build that muscle memory. And then you can see the other benefits there on the screen. Show segment sponsors, $1,600 looking for those in each segment. So there's 8-minute segments, 2 minutes of advertising, 8-minute segment. But there's we're asking for that 8-minute segment to have a show segment sponsor for $1,600, which there's a lot of benefits there, because for 8 minutes somebody's talking about you or referencing your brand.
That's a lot. Yep.
And then show advertising partner. These are just, hey, the quick 30-second, 1 minute clips in between the segments
during the breaks.
And we'll do those we'll do those to YouTube. We'll do those all the way through, so people can see that in every interaction, as well as on the web streaming.
Yeah, and keep in mind, when that happens on YouTube, guess where it resides? Right there.
Yep, forever.
Forever. Yes, I mean, you're not. This advertising there.
I mean, so we're not pulling it down once you quit advertising with this and saying, "Hey, we're going to change all this." No.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The admin behind that would be a disaster in itself. And then there's, if none of those fit kind of what you want to accomplish, there's advertising as low as $160 a month to continue to support our local community, continue to support the local businesses, so they have a place to sit, so they have a place to be featured. And I think that's very fair. And you know what, there's all kinds of little things we're going to do for all these advertisers, not to mention being in our little network of local influencers that help businesses do this. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win for everybody. And I appreciate you guys listening. And what else you got, Bobo?
Well, I think that's about it for today. Obviously this landscape is changing. It's changing quickly. And I think everyone knows that the world of not just the internet, but the social interaction, social programs, Twitter's now called X, and there's all kinds of changes that are constantly happening. And we want to be on the forefront. We always do. We started Radio KAIR when they say, we started streaming Radio KAIR when streaming wasn't cool, right? And but when we started, seriously, Europe was already 90% of all radio in Europe was streaming, and now they're at 97, almost 98%. That's the new norm, folks. And so give us a listen, give us a watch. We're on RadioKair.com. Also, RadioKair on YouTube. Go to our channel, and you can see all of our programs. Go to our social media sites, Radio Space KAIR, and let us know what you think. Visit our website, and we're here for the community.
Yeah, and so we're asking a couple of things. We're asking for you to consider sponsoring, consider advertising with us, and part of that as well is help us grow, help us continue to sponsor the small business and showcase what they're doing. Right.
That's
There's
correct.
a bunch of mom and pops that need that additional advertising, and we're willing to give some of that for free. And we do that at week in and week out.
Every
The other
week,
thing
yep.
is make sure you like, subscribe to these things so you see your neighbor, the
Thank you.